Hey, Chicago White Sox fans. Welcome to Side Sox on the Farm, podcast number 26, number 2 of the season. And I'll admit, I'm a liar. I lied to you. 2 weeks ago, I said, hey, we'll be back in a week. I got to get more information from Darren. We got to talk some more. And then guess what? We didn't have a podcast last week. I lied to you, faithful listener, reader, and viewer. Well, that's because, as you probably know, it was opening day, home opener, too much other stuff going on. Plus, Darren, I believe there were like 3 games generally being played. I guess Charlotte already played a week. Not a whole lot to round up. So you know what? We gave you that extra bonus mega edition for the debut of the season. That was like an hour long. Just, Darren's he's making stuff up because, what do you got to talk about? There's nothing happening yet. Well, guess what? We are now, what would it be now? Well, we're like a week plus into the season now. So we can talk about some MVPs and things. So, hey, Darren Black, sorry. I know you were just waiting by the phone a week ago and I totally forgot to tell you we weren't doing one. So sorry, I hope you actually, got out, saw the sun, got something to eat. You haven't just been sitting there for a week, have you?
I saw the sun. That's funny.
Well, this time I called, I yelled over into the other room because, as you know, I mean, the out and about secret is that, Darren, he's my roommate. He's just in the other room over there. But this time I just shouted really loud. I said, Darren, get back into position. I'm not lying this time. It's real. We're doing the second farm podcast of the season. And as you can tell, he did have to scramble because he did not pick a Birmingham or Kannapolis hat, not even like an Intimidators hat. Nope. He is rocking Seattle Pilots, a team that was playing. Gosh, I was going to say, Darren, sort of sad. I was going to say playing before I was alive, but they were founded. They began to pick their players before I was alive. Their first season was also my first season, although I don't really remember much about the Pilots. I don't remember too much.
Well, weird.
The Chicago Daily News and the Sun-Times. I don't think they were covering the Pilots too well, so I couldn't get my box scores. I couldn't get my news. Anyway, it's the Seattle Pilots. Darren, in protest or in scramble, is rocking Seattle Pilots. Awesome. Okay, well, let's go top to bottom. Why not? Hey, everything right is wrong again, Darren. All the bad teams are good this year, or some of them at least, and the one good one is sort of not so good. So we'll get to that a little bit. But hey, how about those Charlotte Knights? They're a ball club.
Yeah. Now, good thing we didn't start last Monday, or I would have had completely different thoughts after this 1 week. But yeah, they are a team full of a lot of quad A guys that are probably really shouldn't be termed as that, but they really are, just because they're on the 40-man. It's really your main guys, especially after the injuries. So there's no Jake Berger, at least for now. No Jimmy Lambert, at least for now. I mean, not even any Anderson Severino or Bennett Sousa's either. So it's really Romy Gonzalez is kind of your top dog, and then after that it's Seby Zavala, who had a really good week. Carlos Pérez had a really good week. Adam Hazley, he was traded to the White Sox, so that's all you need to know about how he's doing so far. And then Mike Rodolfo kind of hung out for a bit, didn't do much. He's got maybe like 4 or 5 games under his belt, so he got a late start because of the DFA. But they're a team, and they're out there doing as average as you possibly could.
Faithful listener, you'll recall like 6 months ago when we had our first edition, before I decided to not call Darren a week ago for our podcast, you'll recall that we waited up. We were on the edges of our seat as Yaxel Rios, right? He had that classic 23 pitch save. I'm working with no notes here, people, so you're just going to have to wing it with me. Darren, of course, he's got it all typed up, but the usual professionalism you're used to from me. You're just not going to get it this time around. But yeah, the XL Rios save. I mean, that was exciting, man. We just came right on air. It was the Charlotte Knights post-game podcast. It was awesome. Okay, Darren, here's something you might not know. I'm contractually prevented by SB Nation to actually ever listen to any of these podcasts. They say that's wasted time. I just need to make new ones constantly, new podcasts. So I don't recall this exactly, but I know I asked you about Carlos Pérez in our first edition, and your response was, there's some promise there, sort of got to show a bat, and hey, Darren Black, he had shown some bat.
Yeah, after 1 week, he has done what I think is the impossible, is he's played 10 games and hasn't struck out in any.
Yeah.
Which is just remarkable. But he also hit 3 homers, which is pretty good. He's not really known as a power guy, but it is Charlotte. So if you don't think you're a power guy, tack on a lot of power numbers for just because of the ballpark and the humidity there. But yeah, I mean, week 1 was pretty good for the catchers because Seby Zavala was right there too with 2 homers as well and an OPS over 1,000 too. So it's just, if you're a catcher, you're enjoying your time in Charlotte right now, it seems like.
Yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing. The theme of this podcast, at least in part, is going to be, hey, wait, I thought the White Sox had no catchers, and yet the catchers actually showed out and had a pretty good week. So, that's encouraging. It's an important position that the White Sox seemingly they've eluded. And it's sort of nice that potentially, if there is any trouble with Yaz, and Lord knows he works himself hard, even though he's got that great Force 3 armor he wears, he can still get those nicks and cuts. Reese McGuire, I mean, you never know. Guys do get run down. It would be nice to think you just don't have to sigh and groan and go, okay, well, who are they going to just like give the call up to? I mean, if either one of these guys can actually sort of earn space, I mean, potentially, Darren, I know the rosters are going to squeeze back down to 26, but I mean, in theory, you could still have at least carrying for a brief time. You could have a 3 catcher alignment as well. It would be nice for Pérez and or Zavala to play themselves into a world. It's like it would make like a hard decision for Rickon to say, hey, should we go 3 catchers? Because these guys are really contributing at Charlotte.
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't go so far as to expect them to have a 3 catcher thing with Yaz in there right now. Just because you got to give him the at-bats, and even though they are giving him DH at-bats too, which puts them in a precarious situation if there was an in-game injury, but it hasn't happened yet. But I mean, Seby Zavala is probably going to be your next guy up if there's going to be an injury. He probably was always going to be that, even if they didn't do the Zach Collins trade. Because he obviously still has that option because he was sent down, or he was optioned down, not DFA'd. But if push comes to shove, I wouldn't feel comfortable with a Reese McGuire Seby Zavala tandem or Reese McGuire Carlos Pérez tandem. But it's looking, the whole catching situation is much better right now than maybe you would have thought. March 18th, the last few weeks of spring training.
Yeah. I mean, like a strength. I mean, at the major league level, they're as strong as they come. And the fact that, potentially again, no weekend, we're not putting anybody in the Hall of Fame yet, but geez, it's better than us shaking our heads right now saying, oh my God, who's Colby Smelly's gonna have to come up and be like the AAA guy, because there's or Evan Skoog is going to get Skoug is going to get his shot at AAA again because they got nobody. But it's nice that they might actually have some guys who might compete for some at bats at the major league level. Darren, let's talk about a guy that I'm not going to say you're a scoffer, but when it comes to pitching in the system, it's pretty easy to be a scoffer. Yohan Dominguez. Started the year in Birmingham, whether he just got squeezed, down there or not, got called up immediately to Charlotte and actually had himself a pretty good start too. This is a guy who pitched in the fall league, and I'm not sure if that was a little bit of showcasing or pushing him. He did not succeed there. So that sort of, set expectations back a little bit, but is he a guy who can get a second wind and among competition at Charlotte that is, it's damning with faint praise, but to still maybe be the guy after Jimmy Lambert, who might get a chance to do a spot start.
Yeah, so the three guys I can think of that would be after, I guess Lambert and Velasquez are probably the candidates to get either released or sent down once the rosters go down. Right behind them is probably in this order, Cade McClure, Johan Dominguez, and then Emilio Vargas. I mean, I know Dominguez was kind of a in between reliever and starter for a little bit until he went full-time starter last year. And he continues to do that so far in 2 starts. I still think the best thing that you can say about him is that he just never has really walked a ton of people. But the strikeout numbers look great in his 2 starts. So obviously if he keeps striking out, like 35% each time out, that's, maybe I'll keep an eye out more on him, or an eye more on him. But he's just got to keep, proving that strikeout number is legit. Because if it is, then you actually can see him in the majors at some point this year. But I just want to keep seeing that going forward. I know he's got good command. So as long as that doesn't get haywire at all, and it hasn't yet, but that's just kind of he's so far in 2 starts, he's keeping his priors looking good, and he's improving on his strikeout pitches. So good start overall, but we'll see.
Okay,
there's a lot of are they good, aren't they good in Charlotte, and starting pitching is definitely the main category of are these guys good? I don't know is going to be your answer for most of them,
for every team in the system, by the way.
Yeah.
All right, let's motor westward briefly out of state from North Carolina to Birmingham. And I need to know, Trooper Galactus tries to steal this guy from me. I'm not going to let him do it. He's my guy.
Okay.
It's Popeye Jose Rodriguez. Should I be panicking about Jose Rodriguez yet, Darren Black?
Nobody should be panicking about anybody, and nobody should be, wow, this guy is really good. Yes. I'm going to give everything. I know I was saying the same exact thing about on the 2 opposite spectrums of Benjamin Bailey last year, of saying, give him a little bit more time, maybe he'll turn it around. And then the other side of Romy Gonzalez, just, hold on, he's a bit older, let him, get used to it. But that's just how you kind of have to play these things. There are signs you could say that are worrying about Rodriguez, just because he is striking out a bit more. He could just be pressing. It's just, April 18th. He's not really into the full swing of things. But it just depends on how it looks more at the end of the first month. Like, give him like 25 games, and then things should stabilize from there. And if there's anything wacky, either good or bad, then take note of that. Is my even though 25 games is not nearly enough, but it is, things start to stabilize
trend
on a trend after that.
Okay, let's get to better news. And we sort of assume the Y guys, Cespedes and Sanchez, even though it's awesome that in particular Yolbert seems to have just not skipped a beat from his bat really warming up since getting to Birmingham last year. That it's so encouraging to see. But let's table those guys for a second, because I call him Lennon, but I guess he's Lenin. I don't know what he is, but Sosa, this is a guy who just seems to, he's like a popular guy to overlook. And, he's your MVP for this, first week or first bunch of games. He's flashing a little power. I mean, this is a guy who, it's not out of the question that he is still a prospect.
Oh yeah, I think he's still in most people's top 30s. Because he's been in the system for a long time, you don't really think of him as a younger prospect. But this is his age 22 season, so he's still got some time to grow as a ball player in that respect. But what has always lagged behind him is people have said that the defense is fine, it can play at second, but again, you usually put people at short and see what they can do. But the bat has just never come around. He doesn't walk. He strikes out too much for the amount of walks he doesn't get. but it's still not a terrible strikeout number. But so far that has kind of looked better this year. Like a lot of other players, like Gilbert Sanchez kind of got a weird walk rate right now. But I guess Lenyon Sosa is basically the anti-Jose Rodriguez to start the year. He's looking good, played discipline wise, but then again, he's got a 400 BABIP, Sosa does. So that's going to come down. But if you're looking for something to keep an eye on, is that the walk rate has shot up like doubled at least right now. So just a thing to keep an eye on. I don't put too much stock into any of this right now, but if there's something weird to begin the season, just see if it sticks. And if it doesn't, then it was just a good week. If it does, then this week was just him showing his progression as a hitter as his pro career goes on.
Again, Darren, worth repeating, I'm contractually disallowed from actually like citing tape from even listening to any of these podcasts. So I will not haunt you with any quote from like, a week from now, like, oh my God, you just said that Sosa was going to be in the Hall of Fame. So, you're safe. So, go ahead, be ballsy. Okay. On the pitching side. Yeah, exactly. All right. On the pitching side, tale of two, we got Jason Bilous. We just call him Mr. Bill. Mr. Bill, really nice start. I mean, was sort of iffy at AA. Nice start. Caleb Freeman, not nice start. Again, extremely preposterously small sample sizes. But is there a trend with either of these guys that you're just sort of putting a pin in to say, okay, what's going on here?
I mean, there's not really a trend with Mr. Bill right now. It's only been 2 starts for him, and even at that point, he started out really well last year too.
Right.
So especially if a guy like him, who's proved relatively recent that his struggles are later on in the season, once the bats get a whole month of the year under their belts, and everyone gets into like some sort of swing of things. But the one to keep an eye on, if there is one to keep an eye on, is just Caleb Freeman. Has just been all over the place right now. He's not throwing strikes at all. He has 6 walks and 5 outs. So
that's not a good ratio, Darren. I mean, I'm not a stats guy. It's not a good ratio, right?
No, yeah, more walks than outs is something that you don't want, especially as a reliever. But we'll kind of see on him. He was also an AFL guy, Arizona Fall League guy, and it did pretty well there. And he's generally regarded as the top relief arm in the system right now, which, doesn't portend well for him that he's not really getting people out right now. But just keep an eye on that. I know once White Sox prospects, pitching prospects start getting into AA, they start getting a little wonky. On the relief side, a famous one, Zach Birdie, some of that was injury, but then on the starting side, Alec Hansen as well. They all got to AA and just weren't the same. So hopefully this isn't the case. Hopefully he didn't leave Danny Farquhar in Winston-Salem and that just ruined his career. But I'm sure it'll work out. But just something to note: he's walking a ton of people, and that's not in character for him.
Let's see if I can do it. Boy. Oh no! We're leaving Birmingham now! And Mr. Bill Bilous! Okay, we're gonna take a break. We are gonna go back to North Carolina, talk single A in just a second. Stick with us. It'll just be a minute. We're not going anywhere. Again, we're contractually obligated to do this. We've already had our one miss of the entire season. So we're here with you till November. So hang with us for a minute. It's the least you can do. We'll be back. Hey, White Sox fans. It is, I got no notes, Southside Sox. We're down on the farm. I think it's podcast 26, second in the year. Darren did pick up my call. He was a little miffed about not doing it last week, but hey, it was all rain day, man. We did like 20 podcasts last Tuesday. So we took a break. We do have a little bit, as we keep pointing out, extremely small sample size, but it's still something to go on, something to talk about. Hey, we got to write about the minors. Nothing to do on Mondays, right, Darren? So come on, do something, get busy, stay busy.
Yeah.
Winston-Salem Dash, high A. Well, they were bad last year and they haven't been great this year. So they're the one team that's sort of like sticking consistent, not in the way we want. But at least a guy on the dash who is staying really consistent from his Cannonballers day is your weekly MVP, and a guy who just seems like he was born to hit. Super young, but now mauling high A like it's low A or Arizona or DSL ball, and that's Bryan Ramos. What are you seeing from the guy, and the fact that he's a highlight reel?
Yep. I mean, the main thing we're seeing right now is he's just making great contact. The ISO is way up. Fly ball percentage is way up. He's pulling the ball a decent amount. 2 homers already. It's 9 games, so I'm not going to put a ton of stock in, hey, he's swinging the bat really well and not walking. Usually when you're swinging that bat really well, you're just going to keep swinging. And that really hasn't led to an increase in Ks. It's just he's getting more contact overall. Instead of maybe waiting on a couple more pitches, he's either going early or he's actually just getting the barrel on the ball and getting on base however he can. And right now that's with the bat mostly. Mm-hmm. I mean, if his power was really, 30 points off a 300 ISO, that'd be fantastic. But that's probably not going to be the case. But every year his power numbers have gone up. Mm-hmm. And if we're going to look at anything for a guy like him, kind of like how we looked at Jose Rodriguez, and though he does show some gap power, that home run power hasn't come yet, and maybe that doesn't. But what you want to see from Jose Rodriguez is him just getting on base more with the bat, mm-hmm. and keeping strikeouts low. Mm-hmm. Bryan Ramos, if the strikeouts go up, that's fine, but you want to see the progression with the power, because that's the more of a type of player he's going to be.
Surprise center fielder. I think even I've seen occasional leadoff man. Oscar Colás has done. I mean, he's had a start that I think is as much as you could have possibly hoped for. It seems like he's flashing some leather, some arm. He's making contact. He seems to be doing everything he needs to do. So rather than just talk about, oh yeah, he's great, Brett, you're right. Yeah, those aren't the wrong highlights you were watching. You're really smart, Brett. I'll go back to, I think maybe what I even asked you a couple of weeks ago, and that is how quickly does this guy move up, given that he has such a different background from so many of his teammates? Is he in Birmingham sooner than later? Or maybe what's the soonest we see him in Birmingham?
The soonest you could probably see him in Birmingham at all. So while you're asking that question, I looked up how long Luis Robert was in Winston-Salem for, and that was 19 games. So we're 11 games off of that right now.
Okay.
As soon as they get to that point, that's the absolute earliest, because Luis Robert,
you're not going to beat Luis. Yeah. Okay.
He had a 300 WRC plus. So that, over 19 games.
Broke high A, right?
Yeah, he broke it. And not that Oscar Colás is doing bad. Right. He's got a 130. He's showing great plate discipline. You haven't seen the power that that was advertised, but he's doing everything else so well. If I'm going to make a bold prediction, Oscar Colás is going to be good.
All right.
He's a good player.
Yeah. Okay, we're just like 25 minutes in, but this is the stuff you listen for, Southside Sox. Come on. You heard it here first. Oscar Colás, gonna be good. Darren, I guess we got to talk about the pitching. And this is sort of playing out the way we might have predicted, just based on, again, maybe somewhat small sample size, certainly in the case of Sean Burke. But Sean Burke continuing to just keep hitting the ground running. Drew Dahlquist, Matthew Thompson, a little shaky to begin. Among Dahlquist and Thompson in their starts, something to be encouraged by either one guy showing better than the other?
Well, they both have basically the same ERAs, but Drew Dahlquist is doing, I guess, a bit better. He's not walking as many, right, and he's showing more strikeouts. But he did that last year too. His peripherals were better, even though Thompson ended up having the better ERA. It's just they really, like I said in the first iteration, is these guys are pitching to be, top trade pieces for the White Sox, at the July trade deadline. That's their role, is to show out for other teams so they can get, maybe that reliever that's coming in for an injured guy, or hopefully Liam Hendricks isn't, this bad and they have to go out and trade one of those two guys to get a better late inning guy.
Get Craig Kimbrell back.
Yeah, please.
It's a whole different podcast, Darren. We can't go there yet.
But that's basically what they're pitching for, and they're still showing all the struggles they did last year. So not to say that they can't turn it around, but they're still showing everything that they weren't from the beginning of 2021 and still through the beginning of 2022. And I mean, maybe at the end of this year, Sean Burke is just the guy that's just that much better. Maybe Sean Burke is the guy we should be talking about as the trade piece instead of the younger guys. But
it
just wasn't expected.
This speaks to the telekinesis between us being just a couple rooms away, because the question I was going to ask you next, Darren, is, listen, the system's not particularly strong with starters. Vera is a question mark, and he's still too fast, too soon. Mr. Bill, we're not really sure if he's actually going to be a bullpen piece or a starter. If anything, is Burke at this point, with an extremely small sample size under his belt, is he like the Connor Pilkington? At this point, is he the guy we could see that you would put eyes on? Given that he's a little old, he's obviously older than Thompson, Dahlquist, but he's a little older, or maybe he's right where he should be at age. But I mean, he's not young for where he's pitching. Is this a guy who moves? Who moves fast, and is a guy we put our eyes on to say, all right, maybe 2023, he's a guy who might get those spot starts. With the Sox.
I mean, it's too early just to kind of put I don't think he's going to be on the White Sox in 2023. Or I don't, even if they trade him, I don't think he's going to be in the majors whatsoever next year. However, because he was a guy that went to college, he left early from there. He didn't leave with full eligibility, or take out the COVID year. He still had two years left over. But at some point, his stock continues to point up and has pointed up since the day he was drafted, because of how well he did in 17 innings. He still did really well, even though it was 17 innings in 2021, and is already off to a couple good starts so far. So at some point, his stock is just going to keep going up. And Dahlquist and Thompson's, if they continue to show what they have been since 2021, then when people do their updated midseason rankings, when Side Sox does their updated midseason rankings, I wouldn't be surprised if Burke was ahead of at least one of them. I know he still has, I think, 2 years, maybe 3 on. I think he has 2 years on both of those guys. Burke does in age, so they still have time. But at some point, these guys were 2019 draft picks, and I know their whole pro development was kind of screwed up the past couple of years. But at some point, it's, what have you been doing for me lately, and what have you been proving you can be lately?
And again, the caveat here, if not with all of our, again, I'm not allowed to listen to them, but the caveat for these podcasts, if not all of them, is listen. These are hunches. This is ace scout Darren Black studying the stuff, and he's right far more often than he's wrong. But I mean, certainly this early, we're not, again, I'm not running the tape back on you next week or months from now, Darren. But at this point, even just with this, the guys got more experience. Even if all 3 of these starters really start cranking with the dash, you're going to be inclined to keep Dahlquist and Thompson around there for a while, just so they can get some of that success under their arms. Whereas Burke, if he comes close to what he's done so far, he's in Birmingham at some point this year. Whereas the other guy.
Yeah, I think that is the case. I mean, age is probably the biggest thing on it. But it's if Burke does well for 2 months, that means he's proven that he can pitch against high A. Thompson and Dahlquist have not been able to do that. I mean, I don't even think they should have been promoted, really, because of how poorly they did. But they, just because of the development of them, they need to start proving it against, higher levels.
Right.
And they didn't prove it against, low A. So it's the onus is on them at this point. They were drafted with tools. They were young pitchers. And maybe this is just another story of the White Sox striking out on, young high school prospects, which they used to do all the time, and then they just totally ignored them.
They stopped doing it, which is one way to stop striking.
Yeah.
Just don't go up to the plate.
And hopefully they don't do that, because that's a bad idea.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
What are you gonna do?
All right, Darren, who do we got to talk about? Hey, let's go to Kannapolis. Why not? Because you know what? It's just a year late, but this is a Kannapolis team we thought we were getting 1 year ago. Holy mackerel. Kannapolis is hitting the cover off the ball. They're winning games. It's like they're getting to play their debut season with a new name and a new ballpark all over again. They just gave them a total mulligan for 2021, and 2022 is the official debut for the Kannapolis Cannonballers, and doggone, they are not whiffing this time around. The team, top to bottom is playing well. They're winning, and it just seems strange to type. I haven't been lucky enough to do any updates yet, but I'm sure as you're typing, like, wow, they won again, or they put up 13 runs, you got to be going like, wait, are my hands broken? Are my fingers not working right? This is what I thought I would be and wished I would be typing a year ago, but I couldn't lie. Southside Sox readers expect accurate, honest assessment of the minors. So I can't just say they didn't lose like 8 out of every 10 games. This team is playing some pretty good ball. Yeah,
basically in every respect that they're doing pretty well. Just instead of last year, the top prospects were on the pitching side. This year, it is by far on the hitting side, and some of the more interesting younger guys. They're all in Kannapolis, hitting in that lineup this year. But I mean, I think the weekly MVP out of all the top hitting prospects here was,
let's talk about him.
Was a 13th round catcher.
Yeah, and you know what? Colby Smelly last year. I mean, I think, again, as always, small sample size. I mean, he played pretty well in Arizona, right? I mean, it's not a shock he's doing well. It's just, given the vaunted and gilded and the Colson Montgomerys and all that, it is ironic that he's the first MVP. But this is a guy, let's put it this way, he's not going to be held down by a really strong catching core in the system. So if the guy produces, he's going to move, and he's going to get onto or rise up prospect lists.
Yeah. I mean, he's not, so in the lower levels, he's not going to, if you're thinking about, catcher that deserves all the time, it's not Yasmani Grandal is going to catch 130 games. They're not, Colby Smelly is not going to catch that amount, even if he was by far better than everybody, than everybody else.
Yeah.
It's just how the lower minors works. He's so he played 5 games in the past week plus, which is right around there with the other guys. It's just, he hit 500 in those 5 games, which is just unbelievable, literally, that he did that. He didn't show much power, and the plate discipline, I mean, it was 5 games. He struck out twice, so not a ton, and just walked once, so he's just kind of hitting everything that he sees. But good story early on. We'll see what comes of it.
Let me just check with you, Darren. So what you're saying is like 1.4 RBI per game is not really sustainable at low A?
No.
All right, fair. Okay, I accept it. Listen, you tell me yes or no, and I believe you.
They get a ton of people on base on that team, so it's not outside the realm, I guess.
Yeah, these guys might just fall out of bed, knocking in whatever, 100 runs or something. Let's talk Colson and Kath, the Bobsey twins, they're best buddies. There's bromance going there. Montgomery continues to be putting up numbers superior to Kath, which I think he did maybe in Arizona last year as well. Anything to see between the two guys, given they're just, technically Kath would have been the first rounder if Montgomery wasn't there, is what the White Sox tell us. So these are guys the White Sox saw as, pretty close. Differences you're seeing between their two games, enough for us to think, they're not going to just continue up the system together?
If we're just take the 2021 limited pro games and this year's limited professional games so far, it's very clear Colson Montgomery has a much more mature approach, a major league approach at the plate. He takes his walks, he strikes out, a decent amount, but not anything you're going to be worried about. It's not Chase Krogman's kind of 17% walk rate and 50% K rate. It's much more respectable in both categories. But he hasn't shown power yet. Like, he hasn't hit a homer yet in his pro career. But he's 19. He still has to fill out, see where he's going to be at when he's 22, 23. He's probably going to look like a different person. But Wes Kath's side of it, he was drafted knowing that he needed to work on his bat to ball skills, but he also was going to be the third baseman. So they had the whole left side of their infield theoretically. But that he was a power guy, that he walked a good amount, but he also struck out a good amount. He's like your typical this day and age ball player right now, but he's just not showing the power yet. He's striking out way too much. He's not really getting the bat on the ball really at all so far in his pro career. But if one of them had to diverge, it would clearly be Colson Montgomery that would get a promotion this year and Kath wouldn't. And that's just based solely on plate approach. Colson Montgomery could get no hits next week, but I guarantee you he's still going to have like a 23% OBP.
Right.
Like that. He's still gonna get his walks and get on base however he can, even if he's still not showing the power.
Hey, Darren, speaking of on base percentage without power, I don't want to ring the bell yet. I really want to, because I want this guy to succeed, but I can't quite yet. But the early returns on Benjamin Bailey, singles machine, Benjamin Bailey, is pretty good. It seems like maybe, let's put it this way, he's not buried 6 feet under the way he was last year, because he went to Arizona and he still was bad, and which is, that can be a death knell. Clearly coming back, even in this small sample size, he's showing, all right, that's not going to haunt me the rest of my career. And hey, it could just end up being this crazy anomaly. He may never have another season in his life like that, but at least early on, the returns, they're pretty encouraging. This is what we wanted to see a year ago. The plate discipline is definitely what's the most encouraging part. He is a singles machine, but he also has more walks than hits right now, and then also more walks than strikeouts right now. It's one of those you could say is that good, and the other one you could definitely say is good. But the reason why he really suffered last year was just plate approach. He wasn't walking as much as he used to, and his strikeout rate doubled from 16% to around 30%. Like, you're going to struggle, especially when you're 19, with striking out that much, not really seeing much success. And right now he's playing more like the 2019 guy. We'll see how long it lasts. It is definitely encouraging. Because he was really bad to start off the year. It wasn't like he was right.
He didn't have a single stretch in Kannapolis last year you could say was good. And you could say that last week was good for him. Even if it was, 4 singles and 6 walks, he still reached base 10 times. So pretty good for him.
No, we're not going to scrutinize that. Okay. Jared Kelly, 3 innings. We're not going to talk about that. Good that it wasn't bad. So that's cool. Promising start. Let's talk about another guy. I think we've talked about him before. And I think I asked you, man, I swear to God, in all my, time doing updates and against my will and not understanding anything, that Kristen Mena seemed to be a guy I was like, wait, keep an eye on this guy. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking about Ronaldo Guzman or somebody else. I don't know. But Kristen Mena, one start in, nice. What do you got to say about him? Is he a guy who might be flashing some promise?
Yeah, so last year he started out really, really well. He's got good strikeout pitches. Now that was against the DSL, so you kind of got to pull that back. But at least so far in his first game, I mean, he went 5 innings, which is impressive enough this early on that they're letting a 19-year-old go 5 innings, even no matter how many pitches it is. But the strikeouts were there. He doesn't walk too many guys. Like it was 9% when he was 18 in the DSL, which is pretty good, all things considered, with all those factors. But he's definitely a guy to watch. It's definitely Jared Kelly than Christian Mania between really any pitchers there until the draft happens, or if some reliever goes on a really hot streak like Halen Green did last year, to take note. But from what I understand, the stuff is there. He just has to keep filling out his frame and adding velo to that fastball. And we'll kind of see where he ends up. He's 19.
Yeah.
It's a long ways away from him.
In those last factoids, I believe you dropped a reference to Horned Frog, Halen Green.
Yes. 2 Horned Frog mentions today.
I apologize for hijacking your update. I think it was maybe just last one you did, but listen, man, the guys go like 6 great innings, or whatever it was, 7, come on. You got to serve it up to TCU here and there. We don't have many moments. Darren, you got to just
flanches.
You gotta let me have it. But hey, listen, it's great. It's great to see any pitcher from wherever they came from, from Mars. If they can pitch, they're gonna move up the system, and they'll be on the south side like in October. So, hey, it's number 26, I think. Again, no notes, just sort of flying blind here. Second in the season. Running alongside this and linked in the post for the podcast is Darren's first. The only one yet. The sort of his MVPs, his weekly updates. This is actually more than just the 6 games you're going to get for the rest of the year because, Charlotte were overachievers or whatever. We got him back on the grind where it's like, no days off for Darren. It's either updates or weekly MVP stuff. So, listen, he's in with us. Make his efforts worthwhile. Read yourself. I know you do that anyway. I don't need, I kind of got to pander, but in case you're just like, no, I just pay attention to the White Sox win. Some of you guys, come on, serve it up a little bit to the minors. Good stuff between Darren. Reese's pops in for a game. Julie Brady with her fabulous pros for a couple games a week. Good stuff. We're hitting the ground running with it. There's other places you can learn about the minors, but no place you can learn more smart stuff. And listen, even this dopey host occasionally has like a couple pieces of insight that Darren could go, yes, Brett. And I feel really good. That carries me to the next one. See, again, I don't get to listen, so I don't know when I ever make a good point, but it just carries me. So, the wind beneath my wings is Darren Black. I'm Brett Ballantini, lucky enough to somehow host all these Farm Report podcasts. Hey, Darren, thanks for picking up the phone and answering the door and turning on the monitor. After last week, just being left all alone with your TV dinner, no one to eat it with. Maybe watching a little bit of the White Sox, like, okay, I guess I'll watch the real team. But okay, I appreciate you jumping right back on the horse and hanging with me here and giving us some good insight for this small caveat again, small sample size.
Yeah, well, if the White Sox are the real team, the real rules are in the minors. Yeah, really. It's all it's all a coming. Oh, geez. It's an entirely different podcast, but yes, we'll talk about the phantom strikes and striking out the side on less than 9 pitches and Seby Zavala's righteous anger. Maybe that'll be as soon as next week, but we'll hit that up again. I like an angry Seby. Why not? Why not be angry, man? We'll talk about that at some point. One of these like slow, tough weeks, we'll say, hey, let's drill down to the phantom strike rules because it just makes watching baseball all the more fun. Darren, thanks for doing this with me. And what do you say? I promise I will shout very loudly from the kitchen a week from now, and we will do another podcast. Eh? Yep. Yeah. Don't leave me hanging like a zombie runner next time.
Yes, we'll eat our TV dinner together and talk about the White Sox farm system. Hey, thanks everybody for tuning in, giving us a listen, or maybe a view, or even just a read. Check out Darren's weekly MVP stuff. And hey, a week from now, same bat channel, same bat place, same bat, whatever. We'll be up to bat. We'll be talking to you guys. And Darren might wear affiliate cap, and he might wear a defunct team cap. You don't know. You got to tune in and check it out.
Yep.